Hey guys, sorry I missed you. Let's go through everything though so you don't miss a thing. Your book club should be finished now. It should be done now. Remember, if you got an ebook, those ebooks are on Mac and Via, so that should be done, which means let's go and open this up. We're going to open up our January book club meeting document, which actually looks like this. This here, our January book club meeting document. There we go. So let's do this. Let's go ahead and write some questions together. First step number one, is you have to go ahead and choose 5 key moments from the story. So you want to try and find a moment from the beginning, from the middle, from the end. Those are important. And then the other 2 can be from wherever you want. They can be another moment from the beginning, another moment from the end, or they can be from any other moment in the story. It doesn't matter. We want to choose 5 key moments. And when we're talking about key moments, what we mean are moments of high tension, moments of high action, or moments where really significant events took place. So go ahead right now and let's think about where those 5 key moments are. And then you have to go and find the page number. You actually have to look it up, in your book and figure out where in the book is that moment. Find that page number. So just like normal, let me go and pause. I want you guys to go and find at least one. Go and find one key moment, either from the beginning, middle, or end. Find that one moment. Find that page number. Jot it down. I'm going to pause. So find your moment of high action, high tension, or a key significant moment in the text. And then figure out the page number and jot that page number down. I'm going to pause while you do that. So you go ahead and pause and do it up. Excellent. Now it's time to figure out what kind of question you're going to ask. See, there's 7 different types of questions. There's type of question A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. Let me tell you what each one is like. Question A is where you're writing a question about, in this moment, about something you loved or hated, something that bored or bugged you, or something you thought the author did well or really poorly. You'll go ahead and write a question about one of those topics in that moment. That's question A. Question B is where you ask a question about your group members' connections or feelings to this part of the story. So this we're saying, how did you feel when, or what did you think about when this took place in this moment? That's question type B. Question type C is where you write about something that you thought in this scene what that was symbolic. What was something symbolic in this moment? So this may be where you said, I noticed that I thought this had symbolism because, what kind of symbolism did you notice? That might be question C for this moment. Question D is where you ask a question about a particular character or the way in which a character acted or the way in which the author created the character to act in this moment. So you want to focus your question, about the character. Why do you think they did this? What was going through their head? Why do you think the author created them or made them decide to do this? Those are good questions for type D. Question E, or question about universal themes. We've been doing this all year. And, if you're going to be doing a question about this, you might say, what theme did you see coming through in this moment? I thought I saw this. I could also see this. So you're trying to say what moment, what theme or themes do you see coming through in this moment? That's question E. Question F is where you ask about the setting of the story or the author's use of imagery. So you're wondering, what role the impact to have the setting has in this moment or the imagery. So, I noticed that the setting seemed to have the impact on this moment because blah blah blah. What do you think the impact was? Or, how did this imagery impact you? And maybe give a quote there. That's question type F, right? Question type G, the last one, is where you ask a question about the author's use of language. Other than imagery. So that may be where you find a quote that you really like and ask a question like, what do you think the author's goal was of using language like this? What were they trying to accomplish? And so those are the 7 different types of questions you want to ask. So right now, go ahead and pick the type of question, A, B, C, D, E, F, or G, that you think best fits this moment. I'll pause. Excellent. Now, go ahead and fill in that letter right next to where you put the page number. And there you go. Which brings us to step 4. And this is where you write your question, okay? So go ahead and, use that page number for context and take a look at the type of question you're going to ask and ask that question. Now, a couple things we need to talk about when it comes to writing questions, okay? So a couple things. Note, you can only ask each question type only once. So once you use question A again once, you can't use that question A again. Another thing to keep in mind is you got to make sure your questions are open-ended. You don't want them to be yes or no questions. If you need to add a why, add a why. And just remember that, open-ended questions don't always, but they typically start with how, why, how come, or if. That's the kind you want. Closed-ended questions that you want to avoid begin with did or do. So try and avoid those types of questions, okay? So other than making that, also make sure that your questions are specific to the story. So you should include specific character names and moments and things and details that happen in the story. If you don't include character names or specific details from the moment, it's going to be kind of obvious you didn't read. So maybe include those. Make sure that your questions are about readers' interpretations or analyses or opinions, evaluations. You're not trying to go for one correct answer. And hey, this is really important. Include a quote for the questions that require them. Remember, question C about symbolism, D about characters, E about theme, F about setting or imagery, or G about language all require a quote. So let's go and do it. Let's write our first book club question, right? So our first book club question, we want it to be open-ended, not closed-ended. We got to use specific details or character names from the story. We want it to be possibly involve a quote, and we want it to be about that moment, the type, the letter type that we chose. Go ahead and write that question, pause, and come back and let's talk here in a second. Excellent. Now, just repeat that process. Do 4 more questions. 4 more moments in the story. Go and find a page number for that moment. Go ahead and find the question type you want to use. Remember, you can't use the same question type more than once. Go ahead and write your question. And last but not least, make sure, is it specific with character names or moments from the story? Does it include a quote if you need to? And last but not least, is this an open-ended question, not a closed-ended question? So I'll pause. Go and write the rest of your questions. We'll come back in a second. Excellent. Now that you got your 5 questions, it is time for us right now to go ahead and switch gears. You still need those 5 questions next class, but let's go and open up your counterclaim. So let's go and open this up. Schoology, go and open up your gray folder, and let's open up the assignment so it looks like this. This is your counterclaim document opened up. Let's go ahead and open up that guy. Now, what do you need to know about a counterclaim? Let's talk about that briefly. A counterclaim is if you want to make your case more powerful. If you only want to present your side, it's just an argument. When you want to present your side and the other side, you want to make sure now that you have something a lot more powerful. Now it's a debate because now you're just showing more than your position. You're showing both positions. So this means you have to include a counterclaim, what the other side is thinking about. So that means there's 2 parts to a counterclaim. The first part is you address it. You bring up the opposition or the other side's argument, their point, to bring up a good point from them. And then you respond to it. Then you refute it. Then you kind of shoot it down. Be like, yeah, but they're wrong because. So a kind of, I'd say a counterclaim is really briefly explained by, here's what the other side thinks, but here's why they're wrong. You have to bring that up. It's a little bit more complex than that. Let's actually take a look at what goes into it. So counterclaim structure. First part, pretty simple. You go ahead. You want to go ahead and bring up the opposition's strongest point. So you want to use a transition to show them like, hey, here's the opposition's strongest point, and then bring that up. But that's not all. You also want to go ahead and give evidence for them. Be like, well, they would cite evidence like this to go ahead and say why they're right. Show that to your reader. That's important. Then you respond. Then you're like, yeah, but they're wrong. Or, yeah, but I'm still not wrong. I'm still right. Let me explain it to you with a reason. And then follow up that reason with evidence to back it up. You guys know we can't just shout reasons from the rooftops. We have to have evidence to support what we're saying. And then last but not least, commentary. Go ahead and explain how. Explain how your evidence proves that you're right. Or explain how your evidence proves that the opposition's wrong. That explanation factor there is key. So this is an old counterclaim I wrote from an argument in which I was arguing that we should not have youth tackle football. So then my counterclaim meant that I had to bring up a position from the side that did want youth tackle football. So I had a transition. Right here that says those in favor of youth tackle football point out that. That's a transition. Be like, hey, it's the other side. And then I had there a good reason from them that we should teach kids how to tackle from a young age. So that was their good reason. And then I said, hey, here's some evidence they cite. And this was even a program lauded by the NFL. And so this was their evidence. But then I used another transition to be like, but not quite. Right? So my transition was, as we've seen, though, And then I showed that, like, yeah, it's hard to do those perfect form tackles in a game when everything's moving so fast. That was my response. That was my reason. And then I even had evidence to support that. I had a quote to support that. But not only that, I also then had commentary. I had an explanation to show how my evidence supported my argument, show my evidence supported my refutation. So let's go ahead and think this through. Okay, so look back at your boxes and bullets. Yeah, your boxes and bullets from task list number 3, and take a look at the side that you did not write about. So if you were writing about, here's why social media, we should keep it. It's a good thing. You want to look on the side of like maybe why we should abandon it and find the good reason there. And if you were like writing about social media is bad, we should ban it. Look on the side that had well, there's some good things about social media. Find one of those. Find the best argument from the opposition and try it with these sentence starters, right? So try it with, well, some people believe that, and then your best sentence, your best idea from the other side. And then use the next sentence starter, like they cite evidence like, and you might actually have evidence on your chart. Does the evidence support it? Then you can use that wonderful one word, however, and then your reason of either why A, why they're wrong, or B, why, yeah, they're right, but that still doesn't make you wrong. So here's what it is. And then, for example, bring in some evidence to go ahead and support your reason, your response, your rebuttal that proves why you're right and the other side's wrong. And then use that, we can see from this that. Use that to be like, well, we can see from this that it's clear this means, so how does your evidence support your response? So actually, let's do this. Find that good reason, actually use these thought prompts and kind of think it through in your head. I'm going to go ahead and pause so you can kind of think it through right now. Excellent. So here's what you're actually going to do. Go into your counterclaim graphic organizer and just fill out the yellow boxes. So you're going to need to go back to your boxes and bullets and find the strongest reason for the other side. Plug that in. Don't forget a transition, right? And then you might have to go back and find evidence. You can go ahead and use the articles. Again, I'll link them here in the video. Go and find some evidence to support their reason and give a frame. Make sure you frame that evidence, right? And then you're going to need transition. Be like, yeah, but. And there's a whole bunch of different transitions you can use. I've got them listed in the gray box. And then now respond to it. Either this where your response is like, yes, that's not true because here's my reason. Or, yeah, while that is true, it doesn't make me right because what about this reason? And then bring in some evidence, go back to the articles, frame that evidence again, of course, and then explain. Talk through the means relates matters. How does this evidence go ahead and support your response, your rebuttal, your refutation? And that's about it. So go ahead and give that a shot. Remember, we need those 5 book club questions ready by next class. And just those yellow boxes, these yellow boxes here, those need to be finished before next class. If you have any questions, shoot me an email. Otherwise, good luck. You got this.